Today we're exploring the turbulent history of the English Civil War, a conflict that tore apart a nation and changed the course of British history. Join us as we delve into the causes, key events, and lasting impact of this pivotal period. Our story begins in the early 17th century, a time of rising tensions between King Charles I and Parliament. Charles believed in the divine right of kings, which put him at odds with a Parliament increasingly eager to limit royal authority. This struggle for power set the stage for a national crisis. Charles V's reign was marked by financial difficulties and political conflicts. His attempts to raise funds through unpopular taxes and forced loans without Parliament's consent angered many. Additionally, his marriage to a Catholic princess, Henrietta Maria of France, and his religious policies raised fears of a return to Catholicism. In 1629, Charles dissolved Parliament and ruled without it for 11 years, a period known as the Personal Rule. During this time, he attempted to impose his religious policies across England, Scotland, and Ireland, leading to widespread unrest. The tipping point came in 1640 when Charles was forced to recall Parliament to raise funds for a war against the Scots, who had rebelled against his religious reforms. The Long Parliament, convened in November 1640, quickly moved to limit the king's powers. Tensions escalated as both sides failed to reach a compromise. In January 1642, Charles attempted to arrest 5 members of Parliament, but they escaped. This dramatic event convinced many that conflict was inevitable. By the summer of 1642, both royalists who supported the king and parliamentarians, also known as Roundheads, were raising armies. The first major clash occurred at the Battle of Edgehill in October 1642. The battle was indecisive, but it marked the beginning of a protracted and bloody conflict. The early years of the war saw numerous battles and skirmishes across the country. Key victories for the parliamentarians, such as the Battle of Marston Moor in 1644, began to turn the tide against the royalists. Oliver Cromwell emerged as a formidable military leader, commanding the new model army with great effectiveness. In 1645, the decisive Battle of Naseby saw the new model army inflict a crushing defeat on the royalists. Charles I's forces were severely weakened, and by 1646, the king surrendered to the Scots, who later handed him over to Parliament. However, the conflict was far from over. A series of political maneuvers and disagreements between Parliament and the army led to a second phase of the war. In 1648, Charles I allied with the Scots and Royalists in a bid to regain power, sparking the Second Civil War. The parliamentarians, led by Cromwell, quickly suppressed the uprisings, culminating in the capture of Charles I. In a historic and unprecedented move, Charles I was put on trial for high treason. Despite his belief in the divine right of kings, he was found guilty and executed in January 1649. The execution of the king sent shockwaves through Europe and marked the end of the monarchy, at least temporarily. Following the king's execution, England was declared a republic, known as the Commonwealth, with Oliver Cromwell as its leading figure. Cromwell's rule was marked by strict puritanical reforms and military campaigns in Ireland and Scotland. Despite his efforts to stabilize the nation, divisions remained, and his death in 1658 led to political chaos. The lack of a clear successor and the failure of Cromwell's son, Richard, to maintain control paved the way for the restoration of the monarchy. In 1660, Charles II, son of Charles I, was invited back to England to reclaim the throne, marking the end of the Commonwealth and the beginning of the Restoration period. The English Civil War had a profound impact on the nation. It challenged the notion of absolute monarchy, leading to a constitutional monarchy where the power of the king or queen was limited by Parliament. It also set a precedent for the trial and execution of a sitting monarch, a dramatic shift in the balance of power.